Okay, fifth grade. We are working on a project for Miss Dion, and excuse me, her class is who we are going to see today. So let me get my light up here. All right. So you're going to be making a poster for a recipe that you're going to do in her class for a grade. So I got some scrap paper here so I can show you a couple things. I guess you can decide whether your paper is going to go landscape style or portrait style, where we turn it the other way here. All right. And then depending on the recipe itself, I guess. So let's say I was going to do a chocolate chip cookie recipe. Today we're going to work on the title. So I'm going to go landscape style because chocolate chip cookie or cookies, that's pretty long. So I want to make sure that it fits in there pretty good. Now, I do want to go over, like I'm going to go with the kids in class. Now we have some stencils that they could trace, but not a lot of variety. So I'm going to show them that in class you can make your own letters, all right? And so, you know, maybe I'll just get kind of sloppy here. So even just taking a square, all right, you should be able to make any letter from a square. So if I wanted to start with my chocolate chip cookie and I wanted to go with a C, it could be as easy as just removing a little bit of a rectangle and erasing a little bit, and now I have a simple C, okay? It could be that, we'll go with, and you can change up the shape and the size of that square. It could be rectangle-ish. Maybe I wanted to go with a lowercase letter. So if I removed the corner here and I put in another box here, I've got myself a lowercase h. All right. You can get as creative as you want with these letters. So these are pretty basic. I'm just sticking with just a simple square and a little rectangle on the inside. So you can see that I'm just taking that simple shape and just removing parts of it to get those letters to show up, you know? And that's the first challenge, is to try to figure out the font that you want to get going. The second challenge will be spacing, all right? Now, if I wanted to, I can get a little bit more creative with these. If I don't want them to block style, I can go in. I can round off some edges, soften some of those spaces, and I can even round this part up in here. Maybe I want to round it up all around here. So I can get more of a bubble style letter if I wanted to, just by taking and get rid of some of those harder edges. Like I said, corners can go away. This is pretty sloppy copy, but you get the idea here that I can turn those simple shapes into a more unique letter. All right, let's get a little focus on that. So now that we've got an understanding that I can take something simple and kind of make a letter from it, now what I want to do is I want to work on my spacing for this. So chocolate chip cookies is going to take about 20 letters to fit this space, and it's not very big. So I started one here where I took some lines, and your lines should be a lot lighter than what I've got here. I wanted to make sure they showed up on camera. But I left a little space at the top because I don't want those letters to sit right on the end line there. So I came up with about an inch space in here, and then I kind of gave myself another space just in case I wanted to leave. This is where my recipe is going to go, so I wanted to make sure there was a little area in there. So now I have these spaces that I'm going to start to figure out if I can get 20 letters going across here. Now the thing is, with chocolate chip cookies, you know, there's going to be some letters. My C will be here, my H, depending on if I want to keep them all caps. All right. But there are some letters that are going to be a little smaller. So my L won't take up as much space. So I can't keep the same spacing in between here. some of these spaces are going to be a little bit smaller. But I have done some math on this, so it's a good thing we're in Miss Dion's class today. And every ½ inch, I think I can fit 20 half-inch letters in here. Now, they're not all going to be a ½ inch because, like I said, some of these are kind of narrow. And some of them are going to be a little bit bigger. Maybe my O's will be a little bit bigger. So I have to kind of gauge that as I'm going here. Now, I don't necessarily think you got to write chocolate chip cookies on here, but you're definitely going to want to work out some spacing with some light letters. And then my letters, since this area is not very big, are going to be more up and down. So I can do a couple things. I can use a ruler for that, like I did before. And I could start to make those letters. And I could start to erase some parts in there. And so, you know, I've got my C in here. I can go in. These are going to be a little bit longer up and down, just because of what we got. Even getting rid of some of the lines for our border here that's holding in our letters. So I can kind of go in there. Do I want that to be that big? I don't think I do. I kind of want to keep it a lowercase. So again, I would make these lines as light as possible, just dark enough for you to see them. And that way they'll erase easy. And so now I'm starting to fit those letters into their spaces. This might be getting a little bit too wide. So you definitely want to make sure that you go through the whole thing, that you can fit them in there, because you don't want to get all the way to chocolate, chip, and then you don't have cookie anymore because you didn't space it out right. Then you got to erase all of this stuff. So it's a good idea to get the spacing in where all those letters are going to go. That way, it's a lot easier to figure out. We can get them in, and then we can go in and touch them up. And drawing as light as possible, because you're probably only getting one poster board from Miss Dion. That is going to be the key so that we can get rid of some of these. Now I can go in and get rid of some of these lines again and round them out. And I am going to tell them that we can get a little creative with our font. All right. So, you know, with a cookie being more rounded, I can go in, and when I get to the coloring part, maybe I'll go in and make some light brown cookies with some chocolate chips in them. As long as you can still read the text, you can get as creative as you want. You don't want to make, it could be that my O's maybe, since I've got that spacing in here and I can see where that's at, you can get a little creative with this. And maybe there's a chocolate chip in the center here with some smaller ones. And so maybe my O's are the cookie. I don't want to make so many things on the text that I can't read what it is when I do that recipe. But we can get creative with some of those things. So depending on the recipe, you may want to incorporate some of that into your text. All right? So I would definitely make sure you're doing a practice first. We've got our sketchbooks. We'll probably go in and sketch some of that stuff out, and then start to think about the text that we want and the spacing of it, and then we'll put that onto the final. So email me if you got any questions. Love to see the pictures. Guys, we're getting towards the end here. School's almost over. Can you believe it? We've been doing this whole school year. So enjoy. Not sure what next week's bringing, but look for the video and send me some pictures and enjoy your week.